Oh no, we want to go to cards. Is this the right thing, or did I want the other page? Nah, here, let's go back to this. Okay, so this is Why Must I Sign In's Hearthstone set review. And my review of Druid is that Druid in this set is total fucking garbage. There is not a playable card here, right? Hadronox, barely playable. Malfurion, maybe playable, but not good. Ultimate Infestation, I mean, yeah, in ramp, draw 5 cards is pretty strong for 10 mana, deal 5 damage, gain 4 vermin. This might be the most I think this is actually the most playable card in Druid. But everything else here, this is too slow for controlling aggro. This is not nearly enough value. This is way too slow. And just not really good value. This is terrible. This is terrible. This is terrible. And this is terrible, right? Druid got fucked in this expansion. Okay, anyway. Hunter. Rexxar, pretty playable. Rexxar is okay. Everything else here is kind of all over the place. Thank you for the follows, Commonwear and Junefer. Putricide, not really playable. Bowman, not good. Toxic Arrow is pretty okay. I think it's actually the closest. This is not that bad. Corpse Widow, I haven't really decided on yet. Might be okay. Do you play this over the Charge Beast though? I don't think you do. Exploding Bloatbat, terrible. This is not great. Pretty much terrible. Bear Shark, playable, but not good. Stitch Tracker, I mean, I don't want to devalue tutors, but this is still pretty slow for a deck type that does not value slow cards. And then Play Dead, probably the second best card, right? The best card is clearly Rexxar, who is actually good. And this is probably the second best card in Hunter. What is my Hearthstone tier? I've hit rank 1 in Wild, but not Legend 1, just rank 1. And I've never actually hit Legend in Hearthstone because Hearthstone takes fucking forever to grind up to Legend. And it's just not fun, and it's not really worth your time, right? Like, if you want a Legend in Hearthstone, which is the reward for hitting Legend, I would rather spend $20 than grind my way there. Because the matches are just so fucking slow. Jaina, probably way too slow. Cindergrosa, way too slow. Glacial Mystery's bad. I mean, it's 2 more mana than the mystery guy in Paladin, and you don't get a body out of it, so it's just, like, objectively a downgrade there. Simulacrum, I'm not sure yet. This might actually be playable. This could maybe be playable, but I don't think so. Doomed Apprentice might actually be the 3rd best card for Mage in this expansion. I'm not sure yet, though, right? Like, it's interesting. Making your opponent's spells cost 1 more can be, like, when played in the right turn, pretty significant. But it's not going to help a lot against Mage's worst matchups, which is going to be Warrior, Pirate Warrior, right? This does not help at all against Pirate Warrior. So I don't think it really changes Mage win rate. That's why I'm also thinking this is probably bad, although I'm not sure yet. And why this is probably too slow in most matchups. This seems bad. This might actually be okay. I'm thinking Breath of Cindergosa might actually be playable, and I'm thinking Cold Wraith with Breath of Cindergosa might actually... There might actually be enough value here that this is playable. Wow, suddenly whenever I start talking about Hearthstone, the follow train begins. This is interesting. Frozen Clone. After your opponent plays a minion, add 2 copies of it to your hand. I mean, this is going to be phenomenal in Wild. I'm not sure it's at all playable in Standard, though. Paladin. Obviously, everyone is super excited about Uther the Ebon Blade. Oh, I guess it doesn't show the the hero power you get. Alright, this is a very silly hero power. I guess it's not going to load properly. It creates, if you create 4 dudes with the hero power after this, you win the game. Right? It's an OTK possibility with just a few tech cards, especially in Wild. In Standard, it's kind of hard to get it exactly. But thank you for the follows, Insurati, Mahiko, and Berry Bees. We got a follow train party here going. It's awesome. For some reason, some people think Bolvar is good. I don't see how Bolvar is good at all, right? He's a 3/7 for 5. That sometimes is a 5/7 for 5. That's still not actually... Well, yeah. He's only a 5/7 after his Divine Shield pops. So, I mean, he's really slow. And I just think he's going to be too slow most of the time. Blackguard. Whenever you hear his heal, deal that much damage to a random enemy minion. This is probably going to be playable. I'm not sure how good this could be. This could actually be really good, but I'd have to think about it a lot more. It's not clear how many of the lifesteal cards are going to be actually good in this set. Lightstar is probably going to be way too slow. Arrogant Crusader, 5/2, that gives you most of the time a 2/2. I'd have to look at the other 4-drops closer. This might be okay, but I think it might be bad. I'm not sure yet. Battlecry. Draw a Divine Shield minion from your deck. A 2/2 Divine... Wait, this isn't Divine Shield itself, though. So this is just a mono 2/2 for 3 that draws you a card. That is not exceptionally good. All draw card mechanics can find their way into a deck, but I'm not going to say that this is going to be blowing anyone out of the water. But you know, in a certain deck, right? There might be some people that throw this in as Tutor a Tyrion, right? Oh yeah, I paused song requests. Yeah, in certain decks, this is just going to be Tutor a Wickerflame or Tutor a Tyrion. So some people are going to value it for that. I'm still not sure that even if you're running Wickerflame and Tyrion, you actually are going to want to tutor them with this particular card. A lot of the time, you just need other forms of card draw more. But, you know, I'm sure it will find its way into some decks. Desperate Stand. Give a minion Death Rattle. Return this to life with 1 health. This will definitely see play. It's not... This is actually better than the Secret, isn't it? Yeah, this is better than the Secret. Because you can play this into Tyrion and then suicide Tyrion into something. So this is going to see a lot of play. This is a pretty good card. I think Shellblade Champion is playable. I'm not sure I would go so far as to say he's good or even... Certainly not great. He might be good. But I think he's definitely playable. Charge and Lifesteal and a 3/2 charge is just, you know... He is 4 mana, sure, but for the effect he does, it's going to be worth it a lot of the time. He's just going to be removal. Dark Conviction is probably not good enough, and Righteous Protector is probably not good enough. So none of these cards he play, but Desperate Stand is going to make a big difference, and Uther is going to see a ton of play in Wild, and not necessarily... I'm not sure he's necessarily going to be all that good in Standard, but, you know, we'll see. Anduin. I don't think this is the most exciting thing we got here. Right? Really, it's the Archbishop that people are excited for. Archbishop is never lose a fatigue game ever again. Obsidian Statue. This is going to be playable. I think Priest ended up pretty okay here. Choose an enemy minion at the start of your turn, gain control of it. I mean, it's kind of slow, but as a big removal, it's still okay because it does end up on your side of the board. I'm not sure this actually helps Priest with its worst matchups. Right? Priest is already going to be winning games against a fair number of mages and other deck types that are slow. It's already winning the slow game. And this does not help at all against aggro, which is where it's going to be struggling the most. Shadow Essence. Summon a 5/5 copy of a random minion in your deck. Now, people will put this in their decks. I'm not sure it will end up being all that great, but the chance... I mean, in Wild, this is going to be pretty strong. This is... compare this to Barnes. Would you rather have the chance for a 1/1 Yasarj, or would you rather have the chance for a 5/5 Yasarj? And it's only 2 more mana for Barnes for what is probably a much better effect. Yeah, Obsidian statue definitely looks good. That's gonna be a very strong card. Devour Mind. It's not necessary. I mean, if you want this archetype, you're already running Benedictus, right? You don't need to steal necessarily more cards. I mean, it's card advantage. Copy 3 cards in your opponent's deck and add them to your hand. So this is draw 3 cards for 5 mana. This is... Obviously, any amount of card draw to that scale is going to see some amount of play. But I don't think this is going to be great. Because it's less versatile than the Druid equivalent, which can also give you 2 mana, right? That can ramp. This is also a lot more random because it might be that you don't get cards that synergize with yours. Eternal Servitude will see tons of play. Yeah, Priest on the whole got a lot of playable cards. I don't know that it needed an Arcane Explosion, but the rest of the stuff, a lot of the rest of the stuff seems really playable. Valeer is interesting because Stealth doesn't actually make it immune, right? So if you're running a deck type that can deal indirect damage, like in Wild, Valeer the Hollow is basically useless, I think. In Standard, I think there's fewer ping to face randomized effects. But, and it's not like people are going to tech in Arcane Missiles just to play around Valeera. I mean, they could, but they probably won't. Thank you for the follows, Chacky Brez and Eliza Loves Tea. Right, but it's not as good as Ice Block. Ice Block is much better than Valeera. I mean, the 5 armor doesn't hurt, but the stealth is a lot less reliable than Ice Block. The most useful mage card? Was there a most useful mage card? I mean, in Wild, Frozen Clone will probably see the most play because there you have Reno. So in Wild, it will definitely be Frozen Clone. In Standard, one of these two, I'm guessing. Deal 2 damage to an enemy minion and freeze it. It's either removal or it is stall a turn. Both of those are pretty good. And card draw, this is probably less good. Yeah, I would guess in Standard it's actually going to be just the Breathless Sindragosa is going to be the best card. But in Wild, it's definitely Frozen Clone. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that Valeera is the worst hero. Like, I feel like Anduin is already winning the matchups that reward this, and there are already other cards that are more versatile, so I'm not sure that this really adds much to that package. And I feel like Frostlich Jaina is just not all that exciting. I mean, as a mechanic. Obviously, the art is amazing. Like, it's great art, but I'm not sure the mechanic is all that great. Valeera, it's something that Rogue didn't really have access to, right? I mean, it's a distinctive ability, but I'm still not convinced that it's actually going to be changing these things. I guess against Warrior, right? I guess if a Rogue is like, okay, I'm actually going to make it to turn 9 against Pirate Warrior, this is going to win me the game. That's pretty cool, but I don't know that Rogue makes it to turn 9 against Pirate Warrior, right? If they make it to turn 9 against Pirate Warrior, they've already won. So, yeah, I don't know. Lillian Voss, pretty bad. Spectral Pillager. This still might be the best Rogue card in the set, other than maybe Shadowblade. Actually, Rogue got a few cool tools here. Spectral Pillager. Deal damage equal to the number of other cards you've played this turn. That's pretty cool. Thank you for the follow, CH10USS. Doomerang. Throw your weapon at a minion. It deals its damage and returns to your hand. Interesting. I'm not sure it's going to be that great, but it's interesting. During your turn, your weapon doesn't lose durability. Not that great. 5/3 body isn't that bad for a kind of interesting ability, though. Shadowblade. This is probably the best card here. But still not completely great, I don't think. Roll the bones, Another form of card draw in Rogue. Bone Baron. Add 2 tokens. I'm not sure if there's other better token generators in the 5 slot for Rogue, so I'd have to look at this. It might actually be okay. Obviously it's kind of slow, which is its main problem. Plague Scientist combo, give a friendly minion poisonous. This is obvious, there's going to be tons of cool things you can do with this. I don't know how consistent any of those things will be. This is a card that I'm just going to say wait and see. I don't really know how good it's ultimately going to end up being. But Rogue got a few cool things, right? Valeera is cool, even if I don't think it's actually all that great. Shadowblade and Plague Scientist, Rogue got some playable cards. Shaman. So, I mean, my impression right now is that Shaman far and away got the best card in this set, because Thrall Deathseer is a huge addition to one of the tier 1 decks right now. So whether you can dislike Shaman. I'm not saying you have to like it, but I'm saying that in terms of power level, Thrall Deathseer is hands down the best card in this expansion. That's my opinion anyway. Right? 2 evolves. This means that your tokens, your totems have no risk of doomsayering you, right? I mean, that's one of the biggest risks of Evolve right now, is the risk that your own minions on the board end up becoming doomsayers. So this skips that entirely because it gives you that extra evolution cost, right? So that it's not just that they're better minions, it's that you're avoiding the biggest risk you had. And Token Shaman is already a tier 1 deck. So this is making a tier 1 deck objectively better. So this is, I think, just without a doubt, this is going to be... If you're like the type of person that would ever play ladder in Hearthstone, and I'm not saying you should because I don't think it's that fun, but if you were, this would be the card to craft. Morabi, whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. Snow Fury Giant, this will be playable. Cryostasis seems interesting, but probably not good. Voodoo Hexer isn't great. Avalanche is maybe good. I'd have to think about it a little bit more. Icebreaker. I mean, if you build a deck around it, it could be okay, but probably bad. Drakari Defender. I don't think the archetype is going to work, but if the archetype comes together, it could actually be good. Drakari Defender, probably bad, but there's definitely going to be decks that play it. Burlock. Thank you for the follow, NoteHe2545. I mean, no, because one of the biggest problems that Evolve Shaman has is that it can only run 2 copies. Where did Shaman even go? One of the biggest problems that Evolve Shaman has is that you can only run 2 copies of Evolve. So the problem with Evolve Shaman is that you don't always have an Evolve board on time. So this is a third form of Evolve that is better than a third copy of Evolve. No, this is definitely a very good card. Murloc, I'm not sure Murloc decks run this. There might be better Murlocs, but I'd have to play with it. Ice Fishing, draw 2 for 2 is not bad for that deck. Thank you for the follows, Uzi and Atmama2222. Warlock, Gul'dan. So, I'm still not sure that Warlock is playable in Standard, but I'm pretty sure that at least in Wild, Bloodreaver, Gul'dan, I'm not going to be able to remember his name. Oh, it's Jaraxxus, right? I'm pretty sure he just straight up power creeps Jaraxxus. I'm pretty sure that this overall effect is just going to be better than Jaraxxus, because in Wild you're going to play both Bloodreaver, Gul'dan, and then there's going to be some decks that also run N'Zoth. So having 2 single cards that totally repopulate your board, man, that's going to be huge. In Standard, I'm still not sure that Warlock lives to turn 10. So I'm still not sure that Warlock is actually playable as a class, which is kind of a problem for Warlock. But if so, it's not because of this card, right? It's because of all the other cards in the package. Thank you for the follow, Matthias. How is Jaraxxus 10 times better than this card? How many actual tokens do you actually make with Jaraxxus? Right? Can I actually find the rest of this card? Here, let's go to the thing and look at the hero power too. It's too bad the site is so slow. Or do I just go to forums? Just go to forums. Yeah, I just go to forums. We go to card discussion. Oh no. Why is it so slow? Well, there goes my idea of exporting this to YouTube later. I might still anyway, but it's going to be not my best video. There's a whole thing for controversial KFT card opinions. Can we find the guy? We are looking for Bloodreaver Gul'dan. Not even on page 1. Apparently people are not interested in this card. Bloodreaver Gul'dan. Deal 3 damage. Summon all friendly demons that died this game. So you think that with Jaraxxus you get an average of 3 6/6s. But there's the turn that you play Jaraxxus, right? You have to have played Emperor beforehand, at least in Wild, to be able to create a token the turn of. Right? This creates a full board the turn you play it. It buffs your HP by 5, so you can play it even if you're at full life, unlike Jaraxxus, which deals 15 damage to you which you're at full life. I know that doesn't actually happen that often. I mean, you can say it heals you to 15, but there's a lot of times that you are not under 15 when you need to play Jaraxxus, or when you would want to play Jaraxxus, right? You can play Gul'dan whenever you want. It's never the wrong time to play Gul'dan if you can. And it's not like this hero power doesn't exist, right? By the time you're playing Gul'dan, you don't need cards, or you probably don't need cards. And being able to deal damage to face without having to use cards to do it, to bypass anything and also control the board. I mean, the hero power versus a 6/6 that doesn't have any sort of ability. It doesn't have charge, it doesn't have guard, it doesn't have taunt. It's taunt in Hearthstone, right? In Standard, not many. In Wild, there's plenty. Yeah, there's definitely enough. right? I would not undervalue 3 damage in a class that does not have a lot of ways to deal damage directly to face, right? It's that it can deal damage wherever you want. It's the mage ability at 3. And that's after you fill the whole board. I don't know. I think that this power creeps Draxus personally. I can see where there is room for debate on the matter, but I would say this is going to be much stronger than Jiraxis. Blood Queen Lanathel. Yeah, I mean, some people run both Jiraxis and Blood Reaver. That's also possible. Right, because, yeah, I guess you could play Blood Reaver after Jiraxis. That could be interesting. I don't know. Blood Queen, I haven't even looked at this card yet. For each card you've discarded this game. So that's a 5/6 lifesteal, basically. That's not that exciting. I mean, lifesteal in Warlock is probably more valuable than in other classes, but I'd still say this is basically bad. Treachery. Choose a friendly minion and give it to your opponent. I mean, I know they're trying to make this a thing, but it's bad. Gnome-Feratu, obviously going to get played a ton in Wild in Reno Lock. I'm not sure whether... I'm still not sure how you play Warlock in Standard. A control Warlock... I guess control Warlock in Standard must exist. Some people will find a way to make this card work. Certainly. It's certainly one of the more interesting cards in this set, anyway. Particularly in Wild, right? You want it for Wild, if nothing else. Despicable Dreadlord, at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. So it's not a board ping to your side of the board. That's kind of cool. Is this going to be too slow? I mean, you don't run the 6 mana card that does a ping to everything. But this is a demon. This is a playable demon at 5, right? He's certainly playable. I'm not sure he's great, but he's certainly playable. So, yeah, he's pretty cool for a Blood Reaver. That's nice synergy there. I think that this is going to go into a lot of Blood Reaver decks. Unwilling Sacrifice. I'm not sure that Zoo is going to need hard removal like this. I don't want to undervalue the card, but I'm not sure that the deck that would run it needs it. Defile, deal 1 damage to all minions. If any die, cast this again. I'm guessing this averages 2 damage, which is fine. The main issue being that it doesn't really deal with the main issue for Warlock, which is going to be Pirate Warrior, right? You have to think, does this actually do anything on Pirate Warrior? And yes, it does. Because, honestly, I think just a straight-up Arcane Explosion, right? Just playing it for the 1 damage to board without the cool second ability on turn 2 against Pirate Warrior to kill Patches and the guy that creates a hook. Man, I clearly have not been playing enough Hearthstone to actually remember the names of all these cards. But yeah, this is definitely going to be in a lot of decks. This is probably the... I want to say this is probably the objectively best card in Warlock from this set. But I could be wrong. Hellfiend. Whenever this minion takes damage, discard a random card. N'Zoth's Mate. Thank you, Boozy. Yeah, this kills N'Zoth's Mate and the patches it created, which is pretty good. So I think that's usually, like, I think you look at this card and you think, oh, I want to get the cool maximum value out of it. I think that's wrong. I think that what people are going to be doing is they're just going to be killing the initial wave of pirates because that's what you want to do, right? You want to be denying the on-board pirate synergy so that they don't get the 3/4 that buffs the weapon, right? Because the reason Pirate Warrior got so buffed with patches is because you can never remove all the pirates. So the other cards later on always get their synergy off. So I think that playing Defile on tempo just to get rid of the pirates on board is usually going to be the right choice. Whenever this minion takes damage, discard a random card. Probably not played too much. I don't want to say it's totally bad, but it seems bad. Lifesteal, deal 2 damage to a minion for 2. For 1, this is good. For 2, this might not be playable. And no one plays Sanguine Reveler. Okay. Warrior, Rotface. Probably not great. Garrosh. I was trying to decide whether this is actually good or not. I was thinking this might actually be pretty good. Right? It's a little bit on the high end for Pirate Warrior, but this is a card that Pirate Warrior would actually run, right? What was the hero power on this guy? I should not have closed this thing. Card discussion. Garrosh. Once again, not on page 1. Garrosh is not on page 2. I guess people are really interested in this card. All the way down here, people are like, oh, that's not that interesting. Deal 1 damage to all minions. Right, so this is objectively better than the usual hero power for Pirate Warrior. And you equip a massive weapon and gain 5 armor that totally clears the board against a large chunk of Taunt Warrior, right? One of Pirate Warrior's hardest matchups is Quest Warrior, right? It's the mirror against Warrior that's running the quest. So I kind of feel like Garrosh might actually... I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying he could actually make his way into Pirate Warrior, and any card that makes its way into Pirate Warrior is going to be a tier 1 card, right? No? Maybe I'm just going crazy here. But, I mean, an 8 mana that creates a 4/3 that... It kills 3 minions, right? It's 12 damage to board per turn. No. I mean, the hero power does, but who cares about the hero power? We don't care about the hero power. Look at the weapon. It's a 4/3 that damages adjacent minions, right? You're up against a control warrior. You're doing 12 damage to the enemy board. That's pretty big. Now, the hero power does hurt your own minions too, but you don't play the hero power. You're winning on turn 8, right? The idea of this card is basically to be a finisher, right? You have a board of pirates, and you need to break through your enemy taunt minions to actually get to face with your minions. So Taunt Warrior has 2, 3, maybe even 4 guard minions on the board. This kills 3 of them. You finish off the last one, you go for face, right? I can see this being played in Pirate Warrior. Yeah, but this is 8. This isn't 12. That's not at all like putting Odahviing in aggro battle mage. I mean, I could be way off with this. I've been way off, but I always look very carefully at cards that actually can go into Pirate Warrior, right? If it's something that might actually go into Pirate Warrior. The other main issue for it is that it is 8. And Pirate Warrior usually wants to win before then. But we're kind of looking at a hard push by Blizzard toward a control meta. So if Pirate Warrior needs to upscale just a little bit, I think this would be one of the first cards they look at least in Standard, right? I'm not saying it does get played. I'm not saying it's the new 8-drop for Pirate Warrior, but I'm saying it's something you would at least really want to look at. Bring It On, kind of an interesting card for Control Warrior. Dead Man's Hand. The problem with Dead Man's Hand is that you're no longer... There's no way you win fatigue matches anymore against Priest. So I'm not... Like, Dead Man's Hand seems like a card that you would run to win fatigue, but I don't think it works for that anymore because of Benedictus. Yeah, is Black Knight better than Garrosh? Maybe. But the thing is, sometimes Black Knight isn't enough because they have 2 or 3 taunts, right? And the other problem is that it's only 4 damage to the main taunt, right? There's going to be a lot of big taunt minions that have like 5, 6, or 7 life by that point, by turn 8. So it might be that it's still not enough damage to justify the inclusion. But I'd still look at it. So Dead Man's Hand seems really good, but because for Control Warrior, but I think it actually might be unplayable. Because you just lose to Priest at this point anyway in Fatigue. Death Revenant. Gain +1/+1 for each damaged minion. So this could be a 5 mana 7/7. Maybe a 8. Oh, for each damaged minion. That's not just on your side of the board. Hold on. So this can actually be like a 12/12? I mean, it never actually happens, right? But it's theoretically possible. It actually can be at most a 19/19. Wait, is that right? If your opponent has 7 minions on board that are all damaged, and you have 6 minions on board that are all damaged, and you play this, it becomes a 19/19. And if you have Bran as one of those minions, 26, 29, it becomes a 29/29. I mean, some people might play it in Control Warrior just for the memes. I'm not really sure how much the average value ends up being on this. There's going to be a lot of scenarios where you end up... Well, I mean, we have Bloodrazor, though. Right, with Bloodrazor, the problem is so many things will end up dying. There's going to be a lot of games where it ends up being like a 5/5 or a 5/6. And I think the Control Warriors who would be wanting to do that might rather want a guard on that turn. So I'm not sure it really helps the matchups it's worried about, but there's definitely decks that will want to include it for fun, right? This is a card that people will play for fun that might also be at risk of being competitive. What just happened? Oh, I got kicked out of the game. Oops. Mountain Fire Armor. If it's your opponent's turn, Death Rattle 6 armor. Well, the problem is Pirate Warrior just never kills it. So, again, it's not something that helps you that much against the matchup, against that matchup. What about against Priest? Is 4 damage enough to help you against Priest? I'm not sure that it is. What other decks are you worried about? Rogue, maybe? Yeah, I'm not sure this is playable. It seems bad. Whenever this minion survives damage, summon a 1/2 ghoul, a 2/2 ghoul. So the problem is it doesn't live long enough. And Pirate Warrior doesn't do very well with 4 damage though, right? And it doesn't want to use its 2 mana spell to clear this, but it might. But it's pretty good against Shaman. Right, maybe I should be thinking about like Death Revenant as a tech against Shaman. That actually might be right. Interesting. Bloodrazor is, of course, really good. Probably the best card for Warrior, for the Control Warriors that want to run it. Forge of Souls, draw 2 weapons from your deck. Draw 2 for 2 in Control Warrior. Wait, there's no way Pirate Warrior runs this, right? No, this is way too slow for Pirate Warrior. After you play a minion, deal 1 damage to it. That seems terrible. Neutrals. Most of the neutrals are unplayable, but let's take a look. Lich King is an 8/8, which makes it a lot worse than the dragon that does basically the same thing. So, I mean, people will play it for fun, but I don't think it's going to actually be that competitive. Prince Valinar, terrible. Arthas, pretty bad. Prince Taldarim, bad. Prince Kalesh, bad. I don't know what the deal with the princes are. They're all bad. I don't know why they thought this was going to be good. No. No. The Nerubian Unraveler is going to be tech against something. I don't know what, but it will probably... It will find a deck somewhere. Furnace Fire Colossus, discard all weapons from your hand and gain their stats. No, that's not going to be playable. Skulking Geist, destroy all... Yeah, this is the anti-Jade Druid. So this is the solution to Jade Druid in Control Warrior and in Priest. So this is going to find lots of decks. No, not Cindergosa. The classic dragon. Hold on. Why can I not remember her damn name? Just anything. Neutral. So we go to neutral. Is this going to be way too slow to look up? I really wish I could just remember the damn name. What the hell? This is a terrible thing. We look at 7+. And we get to 9. And then we find Ysera. There we go. So why would you ever run the Lich King over Ysera? That's my question. Why would you do that? What effects does the Lich King do that is better than what Ysera does? I mean, I know they don't make the same cards, but Ysera is a lot harder to remove than the Lich King. Yeah, I've seen them. Some of them are not that good, right? I mean, it's basically the same as the Blood Magic Lord in Elder Scrolls Legends, and no one plays that card. And that's the same reason that not a lot of people run Ysera in Hearthstone right now. Yeah, here. Poll, Lich King versus Ysera. We can look at the poll. How's the poll doing? I'm going to vote Ysera. What do other people think? Oh, other people think the Lich King. Why do people think the Lich King option is better? Because he has taunt? Is that the argument? He's an 8/8 taunt. Okay, I can see that argument then. You did. That's true, Bougie. And you got some good shackles off it. Okay. It is 8. It is a taunt. Maybe I'm undervaluing it. It's possible. It wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong in speculating about cards in Hearthstone. Yeah, the 1 mana difference actually might be more important than I'm giving it credit for. But let's... Where is he? Arth. Okay, he's not on this page for some reason. Am I... What? Oh, it's the Lich King, right. There's no Arthas in here. The Lich King. So, he Oh. So you can have a chance of getting Frostmourne. Frostmourne is... it's kind of interesting. Army of the Dead. Remove the top 5 cards of your deck and summon any minions removed. Mill yourself 5. Doom Pact. Or destroy all minions. Remove the top card from your deck for each minion destroyed. Mill yourself. Death Grip. Steal a minion from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. So you have a chance of getting a Death Grip, which is just get a card, right? Every Ysera effect is going to be better than Death Grip. So I feel like you get punished by the low rolls for the Lich King way worse than you get punished for low rolls with Ysera. I would rather have a 3/5 sister than have this. I mean, because you're already losing to Priest in Fatigue. So the Steel Minion doesn't help you in that matchup. No one is gonna be playing a controlled Druid or Ramp Druid. I think is in a very hard spot right now because the main mechanic for a Druid was Jade, and that just got totally destroyed here, right? I mean, because of Benedictus, right? You never win on Fatigue ever again. Benedictus is you win every Fatigue game. Shuffle a copy of your opponent's deck into your deck. Right? He's a 7-drop. Right? The only way Arthas wins... Or I guess I'm imagining Warrior. Okay, now, hold on. You could just be running the Lich King in Priest, in which case you are winning on Fatigue faster with Death Grip. So I guess that's good. Okay, Lich King in Priest. Is it better than Ysera at that point? Yeah, maybe. Okay, I think Lich King is definitely playable. And maybe you play him on top of Ysera. Maybe you play Lich King into Ysera, because he is a taunt. Okay, actually, Lich King's pretty good. I'm not sure he's as... I'm not going to go so far as to say he's better than Ysera, but since they're on different mana slots, it might not matter. Death Coil seems pretty okay. Obliterate. Awkward, but okay. Anti-Magic Shell. Kind of... This can actually also be a low roll. Death and Decay is pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. Anti-Magic Shell can also be a low roll in the archetype. Death Grip is not going to help control Warrior, but it doesn't matter, it's a neutral, so it can be in Priest. So maybe Priests run the Lich King, and they also run Ysera. Okay. So, yeah, I think I was definitely undervaluing the Lich King. He's better than I gave him credit for. I'm not going to go so far as to say he's great. There's too many kind of, like, awkward low rolls. But he's probably going to be playable. What is he competing for? Do you run him over Ragnaros? How does Dead Man's Hand do a better job than Benedictus? Benedictus is add 15 cards to your deck on average. Right, so yeah, the question is in Wild for the moment. And also, yeah. This is also a taunt, so you could play it in Quest Warrior. Would you play this in Paladin? Probably not, right? You don't fight in the 8th slot with Tyrion. No. You might. You would think about it. Okay, Lich King actually might be pretty interesting. Certainly better than any of this trash. All the rest of these neutral legendaries are just garbage. Where was I? Tomb Lurker. Add a random death rattle minion that died this game to your hand. What deck needs this? Is it ever worth it? No, this is too slow. Even in Wild where you have Sylvanas, right? Nah, I don't think this does not look good to me. I mean, certainly some people want to get that high roll with Sylvanas in Wild, but in Standard it looks totally unplayable, and in Wild I think it's still too slow. Death Axe Punisher. Give a random lifesteal minion in your hand +2/+2. A 3/3 that buffs 2 to 1 minion. In Control Paladin, maybe. Not in very many decks, though. He doesn't find lots of decks, I don't think. Summon a minion from your deck with less attack than this minion. How many 0 attack minions are there, and why would you run any of them? That's probably not playable. I mean, obviously you can buff the damage to make it a little bit better, but I am not sure. Oh, so you're saying Dead Man's Hand is good because you run 2 copies of Dead Man's Hand. You cycle the second Dead Man's Hand into your deck, and therefore you get a chance of infinite cycle. So this actually cycles infinitely, whereas Benedictus only adds at most 15. I mean, that's pretty niche, and I'm still not totally sure I want 2 cards to only kind of win fatigue matchups. Yeah, I know Elise can... I know you can get big combos with this, especially with, like, Elise in the pack there. But can you really sacrifice 2 cards in a Control Warrior matchup, right? How many games are there going to be where you just get steamrolled by some sort of aggro or mid-range deck, right? Most, like, cards like Elise at least create a body. This does not create a body, and you'd have to run 2 of them to get that effect. That's a lot of dead cards in your deck. I mean, obviously it's... If you think you're really only going to be going up against control priests that are running Benedictus, yeah, maybe. It is cool that two warriors could actually hit the game timer. What is the game timer? Is it like 50 cards or something? No, it's not. Sorry, not 50 cards. Isn't it like 50 turns where the game just ends? I'm pretty sure there is actually a fixed limit on how long the game can go, which is the other downside to this. Because I think you also hit the... what is the maximum number of turns? There is a maximum number of turns. People have hit it before by other means. It's 30 turns. The maximum amount of turns you can serve after... Is this true? 20 turns after fatigue. So on turn 50... the game ends, and both people lose. Oh, so you die after taking 30 fatigue damage, but that's not a fixed limit on the number of turns. So actually, I'm not sure that they've ever been in a situation where they could test this mechanic. Isn't there a way to test it? Hasn't there been, like, Jade versus Jade that has tested it? There has to be a more... This is from too long ago. There should be something with Jade Druid. 89 turn limit. So he's taking fatigue damage here. Don't you need to test this with 2 Jade Druids? Oh no, both died. 45 full turns. So there is a 45 turn limit, it looks like. Wait, what just happened here? Let's see. Oh, so he's immune, but they are both taking fatigue damage. But he only took 25 fatigue damage. Anyway, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a hard limit on the number of turns. And I think you hit that hard limit either way, right? So I think that Benedictus gets you to the Hearthstone game limit. Right? This is going to add 15 cards to your deck. Well, if 2 Jade Druids didn't attack each other, they would just keep cycling cards back into the deck. They could just go forever. They would just have to not attack each other. If it's 2 Jade Druids, they can just keep adding more cards to their deck ad infinitum. So 2 Jade Druids against each other, if they're not attacking, never actually need to go to fatigue. So I'm surprised there's not like a top YouTube video of someone testing that. But I'm pretty sure there is a fixed hard limit on the maximum number of turns in the game. And I'm pretty sure you're going to hit it with Benedictus just as easily as you would versus with Dead Man's Hand. Right, Benedictus also copies Dead Man's Hand, and this creates a body, right? As bad of a body as it is still, 4, 6 for 7 is not great. In fact, it's bad. It's a pretty big loss of tempo, but it's only one card. This is one card that solves fatigue games. This is 2 dead cards that don't create any body. That does not actually win you fatigue, because you and the priest both hit the game limit either way. Yeah, they're going to be very sleepy, boring games anyway. But yeah, for that reason, I think that in the long run, people are going to find that Dead Man's Hand is just totally unplayable. It does not solve the matches that it's supposed to solve, and it loses in every other matchup. That's my theory. And thank you for the follow, Mahmoud Mosa. Do appreciate that. We were getting down to Rascal. What is the follower? Are you talking about the animation? It's from Evangelion. It's Asuka. From when she is, it's from, yeah, that's Asuka Langley from the film The End of Evangelion, which is the movie I've seen the most times in my life, just as a reference point. Here, I can IMDb it. You have to see the series first, though. Here, this is the art we're looking for. Neon Genesis Evangelion, The End of Evangelion. This is what that particular clip is from. And here's the character, etc. Well, I just did a Google image search on Scream. That was probably dangerous. Good thing I had probably the filter on. Yeah, and they also remade it, right? There's the Rebuild series. You don't actually have to watch you don't necessarily have to watch the full 26 series episode, but what do I actually recommend with Evangelion anymore? I would recommend watching 1.1, 2.2, and then The End of Evangelion. Does that make sense? I'm not sure that actually makes sense. I'm not sure that my ordering of the series for optimal viewing actually makes any sense. So I would say just watch the anime series and then watch the movies. Rattling Rascal. Summon a 5/5 skeleton. Death Rattle. Summon 1 for your opponent. What? Okay. I'm sure there... Can bounce decks really play this? I guess this is the joke meme after they nerfed the quest. Right? Oh, hey guys, we nerfed Quest Rogue. So now we're gonna make a card that sort of emulates what you would get for Quest Rogue if you're playing bounce cards, except make it much more awful. This card's just a joke. This is just to troll the Hearthstone audience, is all that is. Corpse Taker is playable. I'm not sure it's as good as people give it credit for, or seem to think it will be. But people really hate on those Wind Fury cards. But honestly, I think in the right deck, you can get Wind Fury to work. I'm not sure you can ever take it to rank 1, but in the rank 15 area, 15 to 5, I think you will find a fair number of people who make this card work with some Wind Fury cards. Right, and in Shaman, it's pretty good because you don't even have to. There already is at least one good Wind Fury card in there. Oh, it's a 4-mana 7/7 meme? Yeah, that too. So it's actually a meme for 2 different reasons. It's a 4-mana 7/7, and it's a tribute to the 5/5s that they just took away. It's a double meme. So this is end of turn effects trigger twice. Obviously, lots of people run this in Wild. I'm not sure how many end-of-turn effects there are to make this viable in Standard, other than the Lich King, which is, cool, and Ysera. Obviously, you want this to trigger with Emperor in Wild. I'm still not sure what you do with this in Standard. Thank you for the follow, top 10%. Yeah, even with 3, it's worth it, right? So Paladin still runs it, Shaman runs it, a card will see play. I'm not sure it's like the oh my god minion that some people think it is, but it's gonna see play. Dragon subtype is huge for Bone Dragon, and it's just good. I mean, a 6/5 for a 6/5 generate a playable card for 6. Dragon Priest definitely runs at least one. Does N'Zoth Priest run this too? Does N'Zoth Warlock run this? I'd have to look at all the 6-drops. Should I just open Hearthstone? I might need to just open Hearthstone to evaluate Bone Drake. Corpse Razor. Give a friendly minion Death Rattle, resummon this minion. What? StarCraft 2, don't patch right now, please. Hearthstone, are you not going to let me play while this is patching? Okay, let's click the pause button. Oh, Hearthstone was patched? When did this happen? View the patch notes. So this is not a real patch. This is just a patch for... This is a pre-patch. Okay. Well, I can't open Hearthstone right now at the very moment then. Okay. Corpse Razor, Battlecry, give a friendly minion Death Rattle or resummon this minion. Obviously, there are combos that will try to make this work. I don't think this finds very many decks. But all it needs to do is find one, right? Maybe it finds its one deck that it needs to find. Keening Banshee. Whenever you play a card, remove the top 3 cards of your deck. No. 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 It's just no. It's a pirate. Gain stats equal to your weapons. I'm not sure this justifies running Bran in Wild. Is it playable in Standard? I mean, there's enough pirates in both Wild and Standard that it's going to find its way into some deck. I mean, just the pirate subtype is so huge, and it's not totally unplayable at a glance. I'm not sure it's the best 4-drop for pirate, though, so maybe not. Yeah, Pirate Shaman probably makes it work. That's a good point. Or even just with the Jade weapon, right? You just play the Jade weapon, and then it's a 5/4 most of the time for 4 with the pirate subtype. It's still not great, right? It's competing with your 4/3 charge, isn't it? Okay. Serenite Chain Gang. Taunt, Battlecry, summon a copy of this minion. 2 2/3s. Okay. I'm not sure that this is fast enough or big enough to be good for... This is a Druid card, right? I don't know why it's listed as neutral. It's clearly a Druid card. I don't know that any deck plays this other than Druid. And I'm not sure Druid plays it. Some of these cards I really just have to try to remember what all cards are in Hearthstone and are competing for that slot. Hearthstone.
You're back. Come tell us a story or two.
Okay, so we were trying to figure out a couple of things. I was going to look at dragons, and I was going to look at this guy. 4 in Druid. Do I have a token Druid right now? Oh, this deck is dead. Ramp is dead in Druid. I mean, you can... maybe people will try to make a different, like, classic-style ramp deck to work, but clearly Jade is just dead. 4 in Token Druid. Is this actually... Hold on, what about in Wild? Wild, it's competing with Swipe. It's competing with Soul of the Forest. Really, it's competing with Soul of the Forest. It's competing with Evolving Spores. What about neutral? It's competing with Barnes. I'm trying to remember what else Druid 1 runs as a 4-drop. Oh, it's competing with Jeeves. Yeah, I just don't think... My gut is telling me Jade Druid... Or, I'm sorry, not Jade. Token Druid does not run Serenite Chain Gang. I could be wrong. Where's the Ooze thing? Is that a 3-drop? What was that in? That was in one of the really old sets, right? Was that in Nax? Or was that in Goblins and Gnomes? What? Why does... Oh, Echoing Ooze is a 2-drop. Echoing Ooze is a 2-drop. 1, 2, 2, 3. Yeah, there's no way this is worth it. It's just too expensive. It's the wolves, right? This is some of the wolves. Thank you for the follows, CC Gamer, Muffin Grave, Can Winner, and Samo Deepside. Yeah, so I don't think you can run Serenite Chain Gang. It's just too expensive. You have to have a board, and then you are trying to finish the game usually on turns 4, 5, and 6. So I don't think Serenite Chain Gang. Maybe you run like 1 at most. Maybe it is playable in Token Druid, but I don't think you can afford to run 2 in that slot, man. At least not in Wild. Maybe in Standard. Maybe in Standard. It's interesting art. Cost 0 if your hero was healed this turn. Does Paladin or Priest want a free 3-drop? Yeah, I'd have to look at the lists for Standard. Yeah, if we go back to just Standard, and we think of what Druid wants to be doing on that turn, it sure looks like you'd much rather be playing Evolving Spores. And people don't run Evolving Spores. Soul of the Forest, right? You want to get your Soul of the Forest down so you can hold your board. Some people run Cult Master just for that extra card draw. But you need, like, there's a lot of thought that goes into what 4-drop you actually want to run in Token Druid. And I don't think it's that. I don't think it's this guy. That's fine, though. He doesn't need to actually be in any decks. And maybe there is, like, one Token Druid that finds the list that makes him work. Mindbreaker. So, is this the Priest's tech card against OTK Paladin? Is that what this card is? I'm not sure what other deck this goes in other than a control deck trying to avoid being OTK'd by a new Paladin. Thank you for the follows, Vital and Cvisal. Shallow Gravedigger. Add a random Death Rattle minion to your hand. 2 slow. And 2 inconsistent, for that matter as well. Bone Mare. Give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. So with Brand, that's an 8/8 buff, right? I mean, because it's giving a buff to a minion on board, and I think it can also buff itself. Wait, it probably can't target itself because otherwise it would be a 9/9 taunt. And I don't think this is a 9/9 taunt. So it has to be played on a minion on board. I'm trying to figure out if there's some sort of OTK that can make this work, right? I mean, it turns... Oh, okay, it turns your boar into a 5/5. Yeah, it's probably playable. It looks playable to me. It is 9 stats for 7 mana, which is... It's not great, but it looks playable. In some sort of deck somewhere. Right, maybe in like a Divine Shield Paladin even, or something. Whenever one of your other minions dies, summon a 2/2 ghoul. 5/3 for 6. Probably not worth it. Right, it's way too expensive for Token Druid. I'm sure someone somewhere will try to find... What other spell damage buffs are there in Standard right now? We're in Standard. Spell damage. Right, so it's an evolved kobold for 2 more mana. This is in Whispers of the Old Gods. So basically, Whispers will rotate out before this. So this is a card that we'll see play in, like a year. But I don't see it seeing play anytime soon. Death Rattle. If it's your opponent's turn, summon a 8/8 skeleton, so it just gets ignored the entire game until it gets silenced. Okay, that seems totally unplayable. Cobalt Scalebane. So we were going to check dragons. What dragons do we have in Standard? What dragons do we have in Wild? So this is on the same mana slot as Draconid Operative, and every priest runs Draconid over it. I don't think priest runs 4 dragon 5-drops, does it? Or maybe priest does just run 4 dragon 5-drops. Do I have a deck slot? Now we're a dragon priest. Now we're a dragon priest, and we're making a dragon deck, and we've got our operatives. We got our historians. We got... Do we run Fairy Dragon? I don't think we run Fairy Dragon. We got our 1 Bookworm. We got our Curator. We got our 2 Primordial Drakes. We got Wrathion. And that's basically it, right? Maybe we do have to actually run... Hold on. We definitely are running... Where's the other one? Bone Drake? Yeah, we don't even have really a consistent tempo 6-drop. So we definitely are running Bone Drake. And actually, I guess there's a pretty good chance you're also running Cobalt Scalebane. Trying to remember what else all is in Dragon Priest now. Alias, garbage. Say you. Say you. I don't know that we need you. Feast. Oh, the problem is 5 is a very busy slot for Priest, right? Because that's where a lot of the removal starts to come in. Maybe some of you. I'm not sure if we run Lyra. Maybe no Lyra? No, Lyra. Onyx. Dragonfire Potion. Okay, now we're at 30. So now we're asking ourselves, what do we take out for Cobalt Scalebane? Do we run Cobalt over Holy Nova? Okay, we take out Lyra. Do we have enough 3-drops? Don't we need some sort of 3-drop? I don't really remember what Dragon Priest runs in 3. Oh, maybe the taunt? We need a proper curve here, right? So we're running Stonehill Defender probably, right? Add Ysera. Yeah, I need to craft a Ysera at some point. I'm a little short for her at the moment. I'm kind of... yeah. Cut Wrathion. Isn't Wrathion pretty good in this deck? 4 or 5, draw maybe 2 cards. Oh yeah, Shadow Visions. I think I only have 1 at the moment, but that's fine. We can just say that's for some reason someone decided they only wanted 1. Okay. Do we actually run Curator? We're only drawing 1 here, right? We don't have any beasts. I think we cut Curator too. I need to craft the Good Elise. You're talking about the Good Elise, right? Yeah, we cut Curator. Okay, so now we have room for... Now we're running 6. So this would be 7 and 8 on 5 drops. We can always cut an Onyx Bishop if we need to. Do we run Cobalt Scalebane over Onyx Bishop? Okay, so this maybe makes its way into decks. I think this does end up making its way into some decks. I mean, it is fighting for a slot with Onyx Bishop. But that might be okay. Some people might prefer the consistency of Cobalt over Onyx Bishop, which, always risks drawing a Northshire Cleric. So yeah, maybe we cut at least 1 Onyx, throw in a Cobalt Scalebane, and now Cobalt Scalebane has found its deck. Dragon Priest is back. Venomancer, terrible. Bloodworm looks pretty bad. Well, I mean, the 4 attack is pretty important. Maybe there's some sort of priest deck that for some reason runs it, but I don't see it being in very many decks. Probably none at all. $13 total stats for 5 mana. When do you need health on adjacent minions over other adjacency buffs? What deck can afford to run a 5-drop that does this? Oh, the Buff Priest. Does the Buff Priest run this? Oh man, I'd have to figure out the Buff Priest deck. I don't think I have one right now. Let's make it so it doesn't complain at us. Okay. Do I have a Buff Priest deck? No. Well, what does Buff Priest want to run in 5? Holy Nova, Lyra. Yeah, I mean, I can see maybe, but like, I mean, the question is, obviously all of these cards can maybe be played in Arena. But would this actually ever be played in a Buff Priest deck? Right, are there better cards for a Priest in 5? I guess it's competing with Shadow Word Tentacles, and you're definitely not running this. Right, you know what I'm talking about, right? You're talking about the Inner Fire deck. There's no way this is good enough to make its way into an Inner Fire deck, so it's basically just an Arena card. Terrible. 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 Oh, interesting. I don't think this is good very often, right? It's like that Hunter card. Oh, it's right here. Bestial Wrath, right? This is 3 mana for a 2/4 body. So that's actually kind of almost playable on tempo. I mean, this is a great Arena card. This is a very strong Arena card. But I don't see this making its way into too many constructed decks. Immune is not really the best ability. Frostrider. Freeze your other minions. Terrible. Give a friendly minion... I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of shaman meme deck that wants to try to make this work, but no, it's terrible. Battlecry. Give a friendly minion spell damage +1 for 2/3. I mean, obviously it's an Arena card, but... Is there any sort of mage deck that tries to make this work? I'm not sure what mage deck would make this work otherwise. Yeah, okay. So basically, I don't want to say this guy's bad, though. He looks like he might find a deck somewhere. Probably terrible. There's not a lot of decks that are gonna value... Hold on, is this playable in Shaman? Let's think about this. Let's think about this too. Hold on. Let's think about Tuskar and Tainted Zealot. Okay, let's think about this. We're a Shaman. We're like a mid-range control Shaman. We're running... I mean, we're obviously not tokens, so we're not a tier 1 deck, but we're running 2 Maelstrom Portal. Are we even in Wild? Are these, like, even Wild cards? We're running, like... I'm not sure we're running Lava Burst. But we're running 2 Maelstrom Portal and 2 Lightning Storm. We're already running Thalnos, but we need more ways to set up Lightning Storms for turn 3. So do we actually run Tainted Zealot so that we can do a 2 damage Maelstrom Portal more consistently than just having Thalnos? Right, because this, much more so than this, right, this is a much better card than Tuskar. Because this is basically trying to be Thalnos, and Thalnos is in a lot of decks. Thank you for the follow, Lil Shady 608 and Double Tough. Thalnos draws you a card, which is obviously better than Tainted Zealot. But the problem with Thalnos is that there's only one of him, right? Maybe you basically make this your bad Thalnos, and you throw him in a deck so that you can survive against Pirate Warrior. I think this gets played in Shaman, maybe. The Divine Shield also kind of helps, because there's a chance it doesn't get removed immediately and you can evolve it later. Although this doesn't necessarily get played in evolved decks, so maybe not. No, I think this gets into mid-range control Shaman. Mid-range control what the fuck am I saying? This makes its way into some Shaman decks, that's all I'm saying. And the rest of this looks bad. Here's our wannabe Imp. That ended up being a lot more than 5 minutes. No, I think you do run both. I think there are definitely some Shamans that run this in addition to Thalnos. Because there are a lot of games where you look at your enemy and if you don't have a buffed Maelstrom Portal or a buffed Lightning Storm on turn 3, you are very likely to lose. Like if you have a higher curve, that's really important. You need the consistency of a second Thalnos. So that ended up being way more than 5 minutes. I thought I was just kind of going to go the way I did with the Druid at the very start. Mid-range control Shaman, yeah. That good old mid-range control Shaman archetype, it's pretty good. The screen's gonna go black for a second because I'm switching back to game capture. Oh, I should turn song request back on. Nightbot, go. AJ, did you have a request? Yeah, this is your request. Sorry about pausing it for so long. I kind of got hung up. I thought I was going to do like a quick breakdown. Oh, Druid is terrible, and then move on. But actually looking at some of those neutral cards threw me. Hey, we're still in top 100. Let's try our Battle Mage again.